I tried to research anything and everything I could about this thing. There's been other chains in the past. Found one that was in Brazil a few years ago. A man there escaped that chain by killing his neighbor and passing it to his neighbor's wife. Your patient is going to die unless she kills someone. That's the only way you can get rid of it. The only way. She has to make sure there's a witness for it to pass to, because this thing needs trauma to spread. That's what gives it power. Trauma. Your patient has to make it count. Tell her to use some kind of weapon. Make the biggest mess she can.
I can't kill someone!
You have it? No. Why the fuck did you come here? You're not giving it back to me. Get out of here! Get out of here! Get away from me! Get away from me! Get away from me! Get away from me!
Hey. You know, this podcast we talk about a lot about CGI and Marvel and you know, all these big blockbusters that are coming out, Avatar. And not to take away from those films obviously take a lot of talent to make them, but it's starting, it could be just me, I'm starting to see an influx of people getting kind of sick of these films. Now, Avatar's doing well, primarily because it's a blockbuster. Top Gun kind of rejuvenated that a bit, as we talked about as well in the podcast. And you're probably asking, why am I talking about this? Well, the reason I bring it up, the plus side of all these Marvel films and all these comic book films coming out and people getting tired of them, I think people are going back to the basic independent horror film now. You've seen a massive resurgence in horror films, starting with, you know, the Halloween reboots, to the Scream, to these small little ones that I've never heard of the filmmakers, never heard of the producers, and a couple of them just came out next to each other here and rave reviews, which are Smile and Megan. So we're going to actually tackle those. But my point being in the beginning, what I was trying to get to was, it's nice to see horror getting more of a recognition and appreciation, and people going back to what works if they're getting tired of the CGI experience.
Yeah, I would pretty much agree with that. While some of these independent, you know, maybe not quite independent, but sort of smaller studio horror films coming out are not perfect either. I think you're right. I think it's basically audience fatigue of all this superhero Marvel MCU stuff, and you know, and not just Marvel, of course, just in general. And I think it's good that we're going back to basically cinema and horror's more appreciated roots, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and this was a big name. I believe it was Universal. Paramount put this one out.
Yes.
And they put $17 million into it, and the movie's made $216 million. And like I said, pretty much no names. The new kid in town. My God, I couldn't mirror image to her father. How do you pronounce her name? Shosha Bacon. Bacon. That's Kevin Bacon's kid. Amazing how I was just hit. It was almost a distraction. How much he looks like her dad. But yeah, it's welcoming, but it could be damaging. Unfortunately, I'm probably the only person, and the reason we're doing Smile as well is I went to see it with a lot of anticipation. This has got 7 out of 10 on IMDb. That's impressive, especially for horror.
Yeah, I was going to say, for a horror film, that it is very impressive.
Exactly. And so I saw it in the theater. I wanted to walk out. I thought it was so boring. I saw it with my friend, and then he agreed. then I decided, well, the success of Megan and all these other little horror films, I'm going to give Smile another shot. So here we are kind of revisiting it to see if I was wrong and if the mass audience is right. I'm going to tell you right now, I am always right.
Oh, this is going to fucking hurt me, Ciaran, because I'm going to probably agree with you in this podcast.
But I'm not going to tear it to shreds. I won't do that. But this has a Hereditary kind of feel. And what I say about Hereditary is everybody loves Hereditary, but I ripped it to shreds because of the last 5 minutes of the film. It destroys everything Toni Collette and Gabriel Byrne and the rest of the gang did.
I disagree, but we're not talking about Hereditary. I disagree with your opinion on Hereditary, but there is a certain Hereditary feel to this as well, so I agree with that. However, it wouldn't hold a torch to Hereditary.
Agreed. Hereditary, at least from till the last 5 minutes, it kept you engrossed. What this does have in common with Hereditary is the acting. I got to give her credit. I'm sorry if I'm butchering her name, Sasha Bacon, her first kind of outing as a soloist, and I have to say her performance is spot on. But I feel, like the cast of Hereditary, her performance is wasted.
Right, this is my take on her performance. It's mixed in that I find, while she's very good, I'll admit, she is very good, the character, the way the character is written and the behaviour of the character and her sort of style of acting, with this, she's a bit sort of jumpy and talking up and down and all this sort of thing. That did great on me. However, it sort of stands true of someone experience what is essentially it's a parallel for mental health issues, So it's very good, but at the same time, it did irritate me. If that makes sense. I appreciate it at the same time.
I mean, I like I said, I liked her acting. I thought it was quite solid, but the problem I had with it was you're spot on. The direction she was given and the way the character's written, because by the end of it, I certainly wasn't smiling.
Well, I wanted the fucking Marilyn Manson big monster thing to fucking eat her. You know what I mean? I couldn't wait for that to happen. She was just really grating on me.
Yeah, but I don't think that's her fault.
No, I agree.
All right, well, this is written and directed by a first-time director. He's done a couple little small things, but his first big outing. Written and directed, which I think is kind of cool. So I will say this, Parker Finn, there is a vision there. There is talent, kind of like we talked about Ari Lester, who did Hereditary and Midsommar. Even though I was very angry at the ending of Hereditary, I do feel the guy's got very good talent to be able to bring these actors out of their shell. Especially
and the guy who did X as well.
Well, Ty West is a genius, period. But my point is that they haven't given me anything yet that it's worth talking about, but I know there's something there. And this guy will have a career. There's something there. Let's dive into it and talk about Smile. So we got Rose, Trevor, played by... so we got Sasha Bacon, who plays Rose, Jesse T. Usher, who plays Trevor, Kyle Gallner is Joel. Those are the three main ones. Joel, Trevor, and Rose. Trevor's character should have been written out. He's the most annoying fiancé I've ever met in my entire life.
Well, he pretty much was written out halfway through it. He just disappears. What's that all about?
Yeah, exactly. So why even have him? Why even have him? The Joel character's all right. It's nice seeing, I think it's Kyle Gallner. He's been in a lot of films. Nightmare on Elm Street remake, The Haunting in Connecticut, Scream, the new Scream 5. So he's got some good track record, so it's nice to see him. Obviously, you got Robin Weger, who plays Dr. Northcutt, who was great in Deadwood. And they got Cal Penn, who we all like to have a good laugh with, but he plays the doctor. Just small little bit characters. But actually, besides Bacon... the young actress Caitlin Stacey steals the show. She plays Laura, who is pretty much the best scene in the film, which is the opening sequence.
With the character as a child. Oh, sorry.
She is Laura. She's the one who kills herself. Yeah. Now, there's some argument going on this one, and it was with Paramount. And again, kudos to Paramount. You always say, Trevor, back up your director. And Paramount did. Now, Finn wanted to go practical with the grins. Okay? I'm against it. I actually wanted a CGI smile. And the reason I said that, Paramount wanted a CGI smile because they thought because this is a curse, it makes the face do something different and like a grin, like a Joker-esque kind of grin. And it doesn't work when these actors do it. Laura's works pretty good, but when the doctor does it, Northcutt and a couple of others, it just doesn't work. It's just a stupid smile. So Paramount thought it should have been more villainous and more creepier. And Finn says, no, it has to be practical. And Paramount said, okay, we'll back you up. I think it's detrimental. I think the smile should have been creepier.
Maybe the actors could have... I would sort of back the director in this one because it's more naturalistic. But maybe they could have worked on it more with the actors.
Yeah. It just seemed like Smile. Okay, you're taking a fucking photo. So if you're gonna do something like this, a movie called Smile, that's got to be. I mean, that's the key. That's the heart of the film.
Yeah, you want something iconic, an iconic look, and you didn't really get it here with the smiles.
Yeah, you didn't get it at all. But I do like the opening sequence when you see the. When Laura comes in and you can see that Bacon's a doctor, you can see she's a competent doctor. She's a competent doctor. No, this isn't Laura. The first one is the
Carl.
Guy mumbles. It shows when she sits down next to him to calm his nerves, to show him that he's talking to him, not at him. So it's a nice little quick 30-second shot to where you can see this. She's young and she's actually competent in what she's doing. Which kind of sets the tone for what she's about to go through. And but you have this whole wasted mother-daughter scenes that were peppered in throughout this film. And obviously we find out that her older sister kind of took off and left her alone with her mother to deal with as she was going through this, this unfortunate sanity of
mental breakdown essentially.
Yeah, and what I just felt it could have been so much creepier and so much more ominous. And
the stuff with the mother bored me.
Yeah, actually, 90% of this movie's boring.
It basically felt like it was let's give her a backstory. It's like generic backstory, generic traumatic backstory.
Yeah, it was pretty much just to tell us that this is why she's in the business she's in.
Yeah.
Fine, great. It doesn't come back anything scary. You have a couple. We talked about jump scares, and you're not a big fan of them. I remember that we talked about that with Malignant and stuff. You're right. If a jump scare is just thrown in to scare you in a moment, and then cut next scene, that's a cheat.
Yeah, it doesn't add to the plot.
It doesn't follow through on anything. It's
unlike in Exorcist 3, which is the greatest jump scare of all time, where it actually does forward the plot on top of being a real scare the shit out of you moment.
Yes, and the problem with this film is that this film is littered with jump scares, and none of them add any value to the film. It's just to keep the audience awake.
Yeah.
And it does not work. This is an hour, almost 2 hours long.
Yeah.
2 hours long, and by this movie could have been told about like an hour and a half.
Yeah, totally.
If that. It was just.
They certainly could have lost the character of Trevor, who just. It was just like the character's pointless because he just appears and then halfway through the film he's like written out. There's no progression or there's no. It feels like there have been cuts made, but it jars whenever you're watching it because his personal storyline, the character, isn't actually wrapped up. He just disappears,
And I'll talk about it as we get to the ending here. They could have done something with that character.
Yes.
Joel and Rose could have played on the fact that...
Yeah, the jealous thing. The whole.
She has to kill somebody, and somebody has to witness it in order for the curse to be lifted. They could have really played on that.
Well, they could have also played on the dynamic between the three of them of... she's now back with her ex, and Trevor's obviously pissed off at that and stuff, but we didn't get any of that at all.
Yeah, I know. Oh, the problem is if we got any more, the movie would have been fucking 4 hours long.
Well, yeah, it's probably a blessing.
So you have the character of Laura, yes, and she's the one who kind of she kills herself in front of Rose. Rose hence has the curse.
Mm-hmm.
So 19 people have died from this curse.
Yep.
One survived who we'll meet. But what I don't get, the curse originated in some down south or something, down in South America?
They have no from what I seen from it, it's basically referenced in dialogue. We know the guy in the prison, the only survivor, because he murdered someone. He basically says that there have been cases of the curse everywhere, basically. He even discovered one in Brazil. So it's, I suppose in a way, it's a bit like, the old chainmail letters. It's something like that, only a deadly one. So, yeah, it appears that this, it's been going on for a very, very long time. But essentially, as soon as, like, the basic premise to the film completely rips off It Follows and The Ring.
Yeah, I was about to say that. This has definitely It Follows. I actually have it right in front of me as you said that. Yes. It Follows is 300 million times better than this.
Yes, and they even rip off, the scene with the big giant guy in It Follows?
That was from It.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
It. When he goes to the lady's house in It Part 2.
Yes, but it's also in It Follows where there's a big giant guy, like, walks through a door.
Yeah, see, I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And why do we need that big stupid thing? Give us a ghost, something creepy.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I mean, we've seen these big CGI man, she-men, whatever they are. No offense to you non-binary people.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't keep up. But fucking hell. I mean, it was just stupid. What a waste. I mean, the scene that they kept building up with Mustache, the missing cat. Mm-hmm. I knew within 30 seconds that kid was gonna open up the dead cat.
Yeah, it was so obvious. Like, no, to be fair, I knew it was going to be something upsetting. I didn't actually, whenever I first watched it, I wasn't sure if it was the cat or not, but I knew it was obviously going to be something disturbing and upsetting.
The opening scene, you got me. With introducing Rose and how clever she is to talking to these patients, and then you have obviously the suicide of Laura, which actually does work, and then you got the credits smile.
Yeah,
I like when movies don't give you the credits until
a
handful of minutes in. I think it's kind of fun.
Cold opening, as it's known.
Yeah, and it doesn't distract you from the film if they're putting credits all over the place when they're trying to watch it. And then I don't understand what the director was thinking. He had a lot of he definitely did borrow, if I can say steal in his own right. It's just from a lot of other films, current films, not even older films, that they're just there to show, look what I can do.
Yeah.
Rather than it relating it at all or adding to the story. He was like a kid in a science project or his first student film, and he just wanted to show what he could do behind the camera. Mm-hmm. And that's where I think this film falls.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, even whenever I first watched the trailer for this, before I'd even seen the film itself, whenever the trailer first dropped, a couple of months ago or so, straight away I was hearing all right, so it's basically The Ring, but with smiles, The
Ring at least kept you intrigued.
Absolutely.
And it was fucking creepy. This isn't creepy. And they go all, they make this, they have this character Rose who's spiraling out of control day by day. And we're supposed to, and then you're introduced to these two cops, Joel, who would be the main character, and Buckley, his partner, right?
Yes.
And they're trying to make this tongue-in-cheek banter and have some good laughs for the audience, but it doesn't work because the film you're giving us is a completely different tone film.
Yeah.
This isn't like a Scream film. The Ring certainly didn't do it. This should have stuck that avenue. You peppering in some humor made no sense at all.
Yeah,
as a fact, it was cringeworthy. It was cringeworthy.
Yeah. And it was, I think, what they were trying to do in that scene as well. The scene where the two cops are talking about it, and Joel's partner goes, "So she was a fucking head case." I think it was. They're trying to highlight the sort of stereotypes that people still have about people with mental health problems, but it just doesn't really work, and it's never really followed up. It's just, there's a few things like that speckled through it, even with her sister and stuff, and some of it actually, to be fair, does work. Like, with her, her behaviour with the cat and stuff, and her sister basically shunning her and stuff. Her sister was right, by the way. You could there's ambiguity there, but I could 100% understand her sister's reaction, and also her sister's partner's reaction. And sadly, in real life, people with mental health issues do really sort of bizarre and quite upsetting, behaviours. And it can, and people find that tough to deal with. So that I have to give the film credit that they handled that at times well, but the stuff with the two cops, it didn't really work. So
it was kind of like when we talked about Morbius, different films, of course, but when Morbius brought those two fucking Heckle and Jekyll that came on board, it's like, what the hell is this? They're out of place.
Yeah, they're not Riggs and Murtaugh. That's a different film, you know.
Yeah, well, they're definitely not Riggs and Murtaugh. But there's some nice shots. There's a great shot when she's opening the glass of wine.
Yes.
And the camera pans around, and we see Laura in the corner.
Yes.
Barely, but you can see the grin. It's very well lit and very well shot.
I really like the shot. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, that's right. That's what I'm talking about when I say flashes of genius this guy probably has.
Oh, there's talent there. It's just there's a bit of a mishmash of perhaps over enthusiasm and sort of but I particularly like the scene, the shot. It's near the start where she's basically talking on the phone, and this is before she even realizes that she's under the curse, and she's at work still, and she is talking on the phone to her sister, I think, and she looks out the window and she sees what is presumably Laura from a distance. And she's just like trying to work out, who's that? She looks familiar. That looks a bit like Laura type thing. You can see her sort of mind doing overtime.
Yeah,
that was done well.
The Laura shots were clever, and that's where I was getting confused because I thought, which they should have stepped, but they don't. They should have stuck with, she keeps seeing the ghost of Laura.
Yeah.
That makes more sense because she's taking over this persona, this creature, while this creature's coming to get her. And technically the creature's still in the Laura phase.
Yes.
Or whatever it is. That would have been, but they inconsistently go away from Laura, and then the other characters start doing it.
The mother, and it becomes more about like it's like tormenting her with the mother thing.
The shrink gets involved. You have.
Yes. I fucking hated that therapist. The older woman, she was so smug and fucking irritating.
Yeah, she's a good actress though, but you have the patient that she met in the beginning who gets involved with it too. Yeah. It was very inconsistent. I thought they should have stuck Laura throughout the film. Yeah. That would have been a better, because she was actually good when she grinned, and it works.
Although to be fair to the therapist character, a lot of those therapist types in real life are quite smug and irritating. So
I fucking hate shrinks. So.
Yeah,
works for me when she doesn't get it though, unfortunately.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, the way he shot, we talked about films he's kind of taken from. You know what he also took from? And that includes the music style and the shots of these landscapes turning upside down, and a scene from The Office that's at an angle.
Yeah, Christopher Nolan.
Well, no, I wouldn't say Chris Nolan, but I was thinking Candyman.
Yes, yeah.
Candyman did that a lot in that film. Bernard Rose, I think, did Candyman. Yeah. So I saw a lot of that, which is okay. I mean, he's a first-time director, so he's letting people know what his likes are, and this is more. But at the end of the day, he's hurting his film. But again, it's not. Our review is pointless because this movie's made fucking quadrillion dollars.
Yeah, well, this is it. With the likes of sort of tips of the hat to say Candyman or whatever with shots and stuff, I'm totally fine with that. That to me is homage. But the film is basically centered around basically a concept that has been done, or a couple of concepts that have been done before and much better. It follows crossed with The Ring.
Yeah, I mean, it had some nice ideas, like when the alarm goes off, and you automatically assume she's talking to the security people.
Yes.
And then they say, "Look behind you," and right away, that's the little creepy whatever it is. I don't even know what it is at this point. The curse, which again, nothing happens. It just kind of plays out.
I there is some. I'm just thinking there about the character of Trevor and the sister. There is some good scenes where, and they're very well played. And again, it relates to this portrayal of mental illness, and they believe she's mentally ill. Obviously, in the film, the story of the film, she's actually not. She's actually being haunted by a supernatural entity. But it's obviously sort of commentating on the way people with mental illnesses behave, and they're well done. There's the scenes where Trevor goes, "You're talking about fucking ghosts," or even the scene where the sister says, "Are you fucking serious here? You're talking about fucking supernatural entities. The curses aren't real." So I quite like that, because that's how real people do react. Would react and do react to people with delusions.
Yeah, but this isn't a drama.
Yeah.
This isn't a family family special about post-traumatic stress syndrome or something. This is a horror film at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I don't mind putting realism. We talked about it. Perfect example is the last Halloween. Halloween Ends deals with it quite well.
Yes.
And so we were entertained. We enjoyed it. This should have been, you could do that. And like I said at the beginning of the podcast, there's some pluses here, and the acting is definitely one of them. And some of his structure for his, backstories work quite well, like you mentioned with the sister and him, and there's obviously tension between her and Trevor.
Yes.
But we never really, I don't know, I think it could have all been wrapped up.
It's not properly developed.
The ending is such a cop-out.
Yeah, I fucking hated the ending.
And it was such a cop-out to where they could have taken that with the tensions with Trevor, or even her sister go really diabolical. Have her kill Trevor in front of her sister, or even her kid. Oh!
Well, not even so much that. Yes, that was a cop-out as well, but what pissed me off was CGI fucking Marilyn Manson running about. I know it was an actor, but I think there was a bit of help there, maybe enhanced with CGI.
No, there was CGI, of course.
Yeah. But, I mean, it just went down. It was trying to be quite serious up until that point. Then we had CGI Marilyn Manson running about, and it was just, I just couldn't take it serious anymore.
The scene where she decides, when she goes to the prison and she's going to talk to the guy who survived.
Yes.
Who's very good at it.
Yes,
Small world,
he's one of the best in it. Especially the scene where he freaks out as she's leaving. Where he's, get the fuck away from me. Yeah.
She actually makes the comment. She says, my patient.
Yes.
But then she actually turns it accidentally.
Put your foot on
slips it out. Then it's her. Mm-hmm. So he panics and goes nuts. Rightfully so.
Yeah.
But he tells her that you need to kill somebody in front of somebody to relieve the curse.
Yes.
So right there, they could have really played with the whole Trevor and the sister thing, or even the shrink, and have somebody acute. You could have. It would have been cooler if she turned.
Yeah.
Where she becomes a sympathetic character who's helping everyone else out with her past trauma, and then at the end, instead of some stupid fucking Marilyn Manson big rip-off monster from It Too, they could have she becomes evil.
Yes. Yeah.
And then she goes after and kills Trevor with the shrink, or vice versa. Two characters you kind of didn't like.
Well, as I was watching it here, I said I can pretty much guarantee what the final shot of this film is going to be. It's going to be her doing herself in, and then someone being infected with a curse and walking on to set up a sequel. It cuts away too quickly. I wanted to see, well, in this case, obviously, she did it to Joel. Isn't it Joel you call him, not Joyce? Yeah.
Joel, yeah.
Yeah, Joel gets the curse, as it's heavily suggested, with the final shot. But I'd like maybe a bit more. Maybe give it to the sister or the sister's partner, but actually see them like walking off and fucking, freaked out or possessed or whatever, for want of a better phrase. It was just a bit sort of, especially with all the crap with that CGI monster and stuff. The bollocks this up. I mean, it had potential. There's some very good stuff there, and some stuff that's very well done, but overall, it was just a mishmash of underdeveloped ideas, other people's ideas, and a bit of a sort of, a letdown, essentially.
Yeah, so as they're playing Scooby-Doo, Joel and Rose, you have these moments that are just pointless. If I saw her in the car one more time, I thought I was watching a car ad.
I couldn't stand her character. She was just she grated on me throughout. When she goes, and one of the great best jump scares in the fucking film, they give it away in the trailer. The one when the sister, after she has the fight with the sister and she goes in the car. Yes.
And then you see the sister from the distance from the car coming out of the house, and she walks up to the car, and then her neck, bit folds.
Yeah.
Which would naturally be a fucking great little jump scare, but why ruin that whole sequence now with something that was in the trailer?
Well, to be fair, that would have been the studio's fault.
Oh, of course it was.
Yeah.
I guarantee you. I mean, they could have easily done a teaser. And they need to start doing teaser trailers where you don't show anything from the film.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just shoot something separate, something different.
Yeah.
Speaking on that, do you see the big lawsuit that movie studios got in trouble for?
No.
So I kind of agree. it's called misrepresenting the film.
Right.
So people go see a film for a certain reason.
Yes.
And the trailer is that reason.
Yes.
But if you put something in the trailer and then you later cut it from the film,
Yeah.
they could be liable.
Right. Yes. Right. I didn't.
For false advertisement.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a couple of movies they brought up about it. Tarantino is famous for one. Not his film, but a movie. Jason, Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah.
They cut out one of the big lines from the film. We talked about it.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Actually, on the podcast.
So they do it all the time. There's like
yeah, it was the one where get ready for the fight of your life or something like that.
Yeah.
Or I can't remember what the line was, but they cut that whole thing out of the film. And it was so the new thing now, trailers, everything that's in the trailer better be in the film.
Right.
Long story short.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is in a way, I can understand maybe for editing reasons, maybe things don't work out and stuff. So, but if they're doing it deliberately just to sort of basically get bums on seats and make money, and then the one that they're going, they're not going to include this in the final film, then it is deceit, and it is, like basically a form of, manipulation of the audience and people. So I would agree with them, being taken to court or whatever for something like that if they're intentionally doing it. But sometimes things happen, and sometimes people things what they thought would work don't work and stuff. So yeah, I suppose you would have to take it on a case by case basis.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think a lot of people are going to be suing, but yeah, it was just something that just passed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'll jump back into this one. There's a good moment where after talking to Tally in the prison, she decides she's nuts, she's lost it, she's going to kill somebody. So she's going to kill the rambling guy.
Yes.
And so that whole scene is very well done where she walks in, I thought you were on break. I just have to get something from my office.
Yeah.
And she starts stabbing him religiously, and the doctor walks in, what are you doing? I actually fell for that.
Uh-huh.
I thought it was an actual scene, but it turns out it's just her.
At first, I sort of fell for it, but then you sort of realize, before she wakes up, this is a dream sequence because he's not dying,
Yeah. Again, used with horrible CGI. But I do like when the doctor rips his face off.
I like the doctor. He was one of the few. Him and Joel were probably the only two likable characters in it. And characters I actually agreed with,
Yeah, because after he sees her at the hospital, after she wakes up from thinking she killed everybody, whatever it was.
She was really fucking selfish as a character, especially to Joel. You know what I mean? She just I can understand her reasons for it, all this here, but he just wanted a fucking quiet life and to do his job, and she basically ditched him. Then all of a sudden she comes back into his life, and essentially it costs him his life, as is revealed at the very end.
I know, and I know you're supposed to play on. She's she's going through this, and don't get me wrong, Bacon sells it really well.
Yes, her acting is fine.
But you're right. If you're gonna make this character unlikable, turn this into an ugly ending and have her kill him.
Yeah,
have her. She technically kind of does,
or have someone just kill her,
or it would have been better if she became the villain at the end, and she kills somebody in front of somebody, kind of thing. Like gave it to Joel.
Yeah. Well, Joel's the hero here.
She kills Trevor in front of Joel, which would have been perfect because there could have been tension, like you mentioned.
Yes.
If Trevor and Joel had a scene of tension, because Trevor might think, that's your ex-boyfriend, what are you doing with him kind of scene. If she killed Trevor in front of Joel then take the curse and she'd walk away.